So this week's newsletter was inspired by a reader. So when I ask you the question, when do you start believing your emotions are holding you back? This is exactly the frustration that a reader wrote to me after reading Feeling Forwards. And they talked about how they were always told to focus on thinking and logic and planning and goal setting would get them there. And their emotions were this uncontrollable and unreliable force that was going to hold them back. Well, as you may know from listening to me, reading Feeling Forwards, or just listening to this newsletter, that is definitely not the case. But just in case you do still think that thinking and logic will always get you there, have a think about your New Year's resolution. Because if thinking and logic is the path to happiness and success, then we would carry out every New Year's Eve resolution and also act on every good intention, which just doesn't happen. And I also have had my share of New Year's resolutions I haven't followed through on when I just thought they would be a good idea to focus on. So another very common misconception about thinking and feelings, and that feelings is kind of like a poor second cousin, is that feelings are created by thoughts. So for many years, and when I was researching the science for Feeling Forwards, I was very careful to make sure that I researched this carefully. But so many people still think that a thought creates a feeling. Well, I'm happy to say that the latest cognitive neuroscientific research has proved that we actually have three things simultaneously happen in our mind. A feeling, a thought, and a choice occur completely simultaneously. So you have the ability to choose to act, to feel, or to think just as easily as each other. So one of the ways that this intersects with the top 5 questions worksheet that I hope you are using every day just like me is the question when I ask, how can I lift someone else up today? Or who can I be kind to today? I think of uplifting and being kind as very, very similar. And this question is really interesting because it covers off 2 aspects of the issue. Sorry, I was thinking aloud then, so there was a pause, but there's 2 impacts, and I was just thinking about which to talk about first. Firstly, there is the impact on yourself, because if you ask yourself a question, who can I lift up today? You are stopping thinking about yourself and you're putting yourself in the position of someone else or helping someone else. So you choose an emotion that is not self-reflective and not self-focused, and it's an emotion that is focused on helping someone else. The second thing is that choosing the emotion actually has just as much impact on your body, if not more, than a thought. There's been some incredible research done, and I'll pop it in the notes for the newsletter, about how kindness, being an act of kindness towards someone else, or even thinking kind thoughts about someone else, actually changes your physiology. So for example, your heart rate slows down, the level of stress hormones in your body decreases when you are feeling kind thoughts about someone or acting out a kind deed. So in the worksheet, when I talk about who can I uplift today, I ask this question not only because it's great to be able to help someone else, but it also rewires my day, how I'm feeling, which in turn leads to the creation of a better future. It's also a really great way, answering this question, to practice choosing your emotions, because we have been so conditioned to think that emotions are an unnecessary hindrance, they get in the way. Dare I say, emotions have also been ascribed to being kind of a female thing. Have you ever been upset about something or angry and expressed that to someone else, quite often male, and they've said, stop being so emotional, as though it was a bad thing? No, it's great to be passionate. It's great to be emotional, because that's how you use your emotions as the secret sauce to drive you forward. Anyone that has created anything great, and I'm including you in this because I know you want to create something great, that's why you're here, hasn't just thought about it. Thinking, oh, I'd like to change the world, isn't the same as feeling that you want to change the world. And this is such an important distinction. So really the purpose of this newsletter is to highlight how powerful that question is about who can I lift up today, because it doesn't only impact someone else, it has an incredibly positive impact on you in changing how you feel today, which in turn will create a different tomorrow. But also it leads you to understanding and practicing, just like exercising a muscle, that you can choose an emotion. Because if you can choose to feel kind, if you can choose to act on a kind thought, then you could also just as easily choose to be brave or choose to feel confident, just like I talked about in a previous newsletter. As always, I hope that I've lifted you up today with this newsletter, but reach out with any questions, comments, any other topics you would like me to cover in another newsletter. And I will also pop a link to the article and the research I've talked about how kindness changes your body, so you can dive in and go into the detail and the weeds for yourself if you want to. I can't wait to see you next time.